Hello guys, so for this week we will be continuing with our discussion on creative writing, and for the second part of our discussion we will be talking about the sensory language. So at the end of this video, you are expected to cull the creative ideas from experiences and utilize language to evoke emotional and intellectual responses from readers, or that is also our most essential learning competency from DepEd. Okay, so first we will talk about the sensory details in writing. So the writer's ability to produce a strong and memorable story has much to do with appealing of our five senses. So in here, you're going to write stories or poems or paragraphs or sentences and the like, which calls for the attention of the five senses of our readers. So it depends on you on how you let other people feel how you feel, the taste of something, the smell of something, how you see something. So writers use the sense of sight, the sense of sound, the sense of touch, smell, and the taste to arouse the reader's interest or reader's attention. When sensory details are being added to writings, your readers can personally experience whatever you are trying to describe to them. Okay, so if you are confident and you are an effective writer and you let others people or you let others feel, see, taste, smell the writings that you have written for them, then you become effective. Okay, so let them remember of their experiences and give them the writing of a universal feel. Without using sensory details, stories would fail to come to real life. So it is the duty of a writer to let the reader feel how he or she feels. Okay, so let's start with some examples. Okay, one of the examples here is I went to the store and bought some flowers. Then I headed to the meat department. Later, I realized I forgot to buy bread. Okay, so if you're going to put an impact to this writing, you have to bring the full emotion or full feeling of your experience while you are in the store. Okay, so you can say that upon entering the grocery store, I headed directly for the flower department where I spotted colorful daisies or roses. Okay, as I tenderly rested the roses into the rusty shopping cart, I caught a familiar enchanted scent. So I added a fragrant bouquet of roses to my cart, and while heading to the meat department, I smelled the stinky of seafood, which made my appetite disappear. Later, I realized I forgot to buy bread. Okay, so the first example is very simple, and the reader or the one who listens to you will not have the full imagination of your experience while you are in the store. Well, the second example, basically it gave you the best experience as if you are with that person who bought the flour, who bought the meat, and forgot to buy the bread. Okay, so that is the importance of using our sensory language. The next topic is on imagery. This is another language in writing which is very important for us to know and to learn so that we can become effective writers and our readers will feel how we feel as if they are with us when we experience something that we are writing. Okay, so the sensory language has something to do with image and imagery. So first, let's define what is an image. Okay, so an image is a representation of an experience or object perceived through the sense, like the sense of sight, smell, taste, touch, and hearing. An image does not always suggest the same thing to all readers because readers have different sets of experiences. An image, however, enables readers to evoke specific emotions which shall approximate the experience of the author the author wishes to create. The mental pictures stimulated by words that appear to the senses, or a single image or comparison extending throughout the literary work, thus shaping its meaning, is called the image. Okay, so the image is the one that you picture in your mind, or that you try to imagine when you hear something that is being said by a speaker or someone you are talking with. Say, for example, when he said, I went to the market, then you try to imagine an image or a picture of a market. So the image varies or depends on the experience of the one who listens to it or the one who imagines it. Say, for example, my experience is the market which I see regularly is the Lingayen Public Market, wherein we can see a lot of vendors selling vegetable. There is also the meat section, and then um, the fish, and then vegetables and dry goods and wet goods and so on and so forth. But for others who imagines a market which is say, for example, CSI, wherein you can see a lot of products, products which are properly put into places, then that's another story. So an image varies from one person to another. So it depends on you on how you see an image that is being pictured in your imagination. While imagery, it is commonly refers to the visual pictures within a work produced verbally, though it is often defined more broadly to include sensory experience other than the visual. Okay, so imagery is a literary device of forming images collectively, and this refers to the words and phrases that create a vivid sensory, and it is used to signify all the objects and qualities of sense perception referred to the works of the literature. So we have different types of imagery. Actually, we have five. Okay, so the first one is the visual imagery, and then we also have the auditory imagery, the olfactory imagery, the tactile imagery, and the gustatory imagery. So the first one is the visual. When we talk about visual, these are the things that we see. Visual imagery are the objects that provoke the sense of sight. Okay, so objects that provoke the sense of sight. While auditory, it has something to do with hearing or those that trigger the sense of hearing. And say, for example, the sound of the thunder or the sound of a cat when the cat is fighting with another cat. That is an auditory imagery. The things that you hear, as if you hear, you want other people hear what you have heard. Okay, the third one is the olfactory imagery, those that stimulate the sense of smell. Okay, so the fragrance of a flower, how stinky the meat or the fish section is, something like that, or how bad the odor of your classmate is. It is called olfactory imagery. Tactile imagery, those that apprehend the sense of touch. Okay, if you feel cold, if you feel hot, if you feel something rough or something smooth or something fine, those are examples of tactile imagery. And finally, we have the gustatory imagery, or those that compel the sense of taste. So maybe you have eaten a food which is sour or sweet or bitter, and so on and so forth. So those are five: visual, auditory, olfactory, tactile, and the gustatory imagery. So okay, let's try to look at an example of a song which used a lot of imagery. Okay, this song is entitled Your Love, sung by Alamid. Okay, so first, let's have the chorus part. It says there, your love is like the sun that lights up my whole world. Okay, so the first line says, your love is like the sun. So that is a visual imagery. The love of that person is compared to us, the sun, which lights up the world of the person, saying to the or singing to the other people. So the visual image is the sun, and then the another visual image is the description which says it lights up my whole world. Okay, another one is the second line, I feel the warmth inside. Okay, so that is another example of a tactile imagery. Okay, because the warmth that the singer feels inside. Okay, the third line is, your love is like a river that flows down through my veins. I feel the chill inside. So River is another example of a visual imagery, and that flows down through my veins. Okay, so the feeling, okay, so olfactory, and then I feel the chill inside. So the feeling of coldness. Okay, so that is a tactile imagery. So those are just some examples of the use of visual imagery, tactile and olfactory, which helps in giving a message to the receiver or to the viewers or to the readers. So if you feel like using it properly, then I am very, very sure that you can be an effective sender of a message, and you can send the message clearly when you use these different kinds of imagery. Okay, so the fourth one is the diction. Diction is the author's choice or selection of words or vocabulary, or the artistic arrangement that words constitute. Okay, so this is another important thing when we are going to write creative writing, diction, or the choice of words. Good writing makes good use of diction. The words should be right and accurate, appropriate to the context in which they are used, and comprehensible to the intended audience. Okay, so your diction or your choice of words must be properly accounted so that the viewers or the readers or the listeners can easily comprehend what you are saying to them. Otherwise, a message may be perceived differently or erroneously from the intended message if you don't use the proper diction or the proper words or vocabulary in your output. If that happens, then there will be an erroneous information, or they can receive the information which is far different from the intention that you are wanting to let them know. Okay, so addiction error is a wrong word or a wrong addiction error is a wrong word error. Diction error is a word that almost sounds right. For instance, if an employer says, "We interviewed prospective candidates." Okay, so she has committed an error in diction because perspective is very different from prospective. Okay, so perspective is a point of view, while prospective is the potential. Sometimes it sounds right, it sounds alike, but if you are going to read it properly, the information is not right, and so we call it diction error. So we revise it from "we interviewed prospective candidates" to "we interviewed prospective candidates." Again, perspective is point of view, while prospective is a potential. That's all for now. So our next video will focus on the language of the figures of speech. Okay, so see you again.